War for the Planet of the Apes, by all means necessary, is a technological marvel. War for the Planet of the Apes is a masterpiece. War for the Planet of the Apes is filled with star-studded performances, remarkable storytelling, astounding cinematography, and absolutely fantastic directing from Matt Reeves. It is a film that you need to go see, and is by all means necessary the best conclusion possible for an incredible trilogy known as the Planet of the Apes. What exactly I thought? Stick around for my review. If you know me, you know how much I enjoyed Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's probably one of the best origin stories and definitely one of the best starts to a franchise/trilogy ever. It lays the groundwork for Caesar, it shows you where he comes from, and it builds this world and really sets things up beautifully for what's to come in this trilogy. Matt Reeves was hired to direct the second film, known as Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Now, this was The Empire Strikes Back to this trilogy. It was better in every possible way than the first one. It was more ape-centric. It's what I personally wanted to see from a Planet of the Apes movie. It made you care about pretty much every single character. It had remarkable narrative with jaw-dropping action, some of the best cinematography I've ever seen in a film, some of the best special effects ever, in my opinion, cinema. Point blank, period. This was a movie that if you watched, you couldn't help but admire and adore. It was everything that it needed to be and so much more, and set up the conclusion so well. So we come to the third and final film in this trilogy, known as War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, War for the Planet of the Apes takes place 2 years after Dawn, and because of what happened in Dawn, quick spoilers if you haven't seen the second film in this trilogy, what Koba did started a war with humankind. They called in a lot of reinforcements from up north, and those reinforcements have come down to San Francisco or the Bay Area to hunt down Caesar's pack of apes, to hunt them down and absolutely annihilate them. Now, War for the Planet of the Apes picks up 2 years afterwards, where the war has been brewing and there are losses on both sides. From the moment this movie starts, personally, I wanted every single human being to die. It has some of the best opening action set pieces I have seen. Alright, it shows you the true horrors of war. And from the moment that you actually come close to the apes, you can't tell me those apes are visual effects added post-production. They look remarkable. They look even better than Dawn, which is just mind-boggling to me. Sure, technology evolves, but god damn it. Amazing. Simply amazing. This movie puts you into the shoes of Caesar more than ever. He really is the star of this film. This film is the most ape-centric film out of the entire trilogy, which says a lot. Woody Harrelson's Colonel is in the film. He is the antagonist, but he is not the centric point. The scenes that he is in, he's fantastic. He is a very dark character, a very dark man, a very sick man in my opinion, and I'll elaborate that later on in this review. But it is a very ape-centric movie, just like Dawn was in the very beginning. After the big first action set piece, you once again see how the apes are living in this war. How much Caesar now is not about for him to just survive, but to protect the apes. That's all he wants to do. He shows that he is an incredible leader. He shows mercy, you know. He shows compassion. At the same time, he shows strength. Every ape not just respects him, loves him. He is by all means their John Connor. He is by all means their Moses, their Jesus Christ. He is this messianic figure that will take them to the next step now more than ever. And I adore that about this film. Continuing on, Maurice, Rocket, and if I'm correctly pronouncing the gorilla's name, Noka or Nosa, whatever the proper pronunciation is, his posse in the film is well realized. They really care about Caesar, and you can tell that by the way they talk to him or sign language speak to him, by the way they look at him, by the way they simply do not want to leave him behind and do not want him to do anything on his own, and they want to be there for him, not because they feel obligated to, but because they feel that it's necessary for them to pay him back in a way that he gave them a new life. They don't feel obligated necessarily, you know what I mean? Like, you just can tell that they want to do this out of sheer love for Caesar, which is just amazing. Continuing on in the film, the motion capture, I want to stress something about this. Every single scene, there's an ape, which is pretty much every scene. you're sitting there and you're like, what I am seeing is real. This is not visual effects. You cannot tell the difference. You really can't. And because this film is shot a lot on location, what I mean by that is actually shot in the woods, it's actually shot in the mountains. Everywhere you see it's actually shot on the beach. Because of that, it makes it more vibrant. It makes it more real. It makes it more eccentric, I guess the right word is. And you really can't help but just sit there in awe from those apes. Continuing on, the little girl Nova, I thought was adorable. I thought was absolutely heartwarming. Every scene she was in, she didn't speak at all. And I won't spoil why, because it is a very big centric plot point. But because of that, her and Maurice bond quite a lot. And she is adorable. I couldn't help but smile out of the majority of the scenes she was in, and then there are scenes where she is sad and she is reacting to some things that is happening, and you feel that because you are there, you are with them. Which leads me to another point. You are with these characters. You feel like you're in the movie. Like from the start of the film, it has you in the palm of its hands. And the thing that Matt Reeves does best is that he makes you care so much about these characters, and then he shatters your heart. Alright? He will make you adore them one scene. 5 minutes later, he will make your heart cry. He will make it crumble. He will make you sit there with tears in your eyes because he says, yes, you love these characters from the first, second movie, the way they've been progressing in the third one, but now I have to play with your emotions. Now you have to understand that this is war and there are casualties, that there are consequences. And I absolutely love that because when you watch a movie like this, a conclusion to a trilogy, a movie that is titled War for the Planet of the Apes, you really do come in with a mind that, okay, there's going to be loss, and by God is there. And the way that he handles those losses, the emotion from every single character, the music is just amazing. I don't know how he did it. Which leads me to my next point. The music in this film is as big of a character as anybody, because a lot of the time there is not any conversation. A lot of the time there's going to be sign language. A lot of the time it's going to be about the shot itself, the take, and the music that absolutely amplifies the feeling of what is happening on screen. And because of that, the emotion that comes out of you is real because you see this, you are there within it, and it's all a very immersive experience. You do not feel like you're sitting in the theater. You forget that you're sitting in a theater. You are actually there within the jungle, within the woods, excuse me. You are actually there with them when the battle going down. You are there when everything that transpires. You are there with them when every single loss is felt. You understand it, you feel it, and the music plays a huge part in that because there's a lot of scenes that do not have any words whatsoever, not even sign language, just visuals, and Matt Reeves knocks it out of the park. He directed the shit out of this movie. There's no ifs or buts about it. He's going to murder with the Batman. I have no doubt about that. It's hard to top Dawn. He knocked it out of the park. Dawn doesn't even stand close from an experience what is war. Now, I do have to tell people, if you're coming into this movie expecting a action-filled film because it is called War for the Planet of the Apes, you are going to not get what you're bargaining for, because it is War for the Planet of the Apes. There is action and it is jaw-dropping. However, it is a much more drama-filled film. It is a much more narrative and character-driven based film because it's about Caesar's meaning in this world. It's about his purpose, and that's what I love about this trilogy, is that through every film his purpose becomes more and more clear to you and to him, his actual true purpose, which I love. All right, it's amazing. I can't stress that. I know I've been repeating myself, but it really is. It's glorious by every mean of that word. I really enjoyed the character of Bad Ape. I thought that from the trailers, I didn't know much because I only saw 2 trailers, and in the one trailer that he did appear, there wasn't really much of him, but he was speaking. And you find out that there are other apes outside of Caesar's group, outside of the community he's built. And it's really interesting because Bad Ape doesn't speak as fluent as Caesar, but very close. And Bad Ape is indeed the comic relief of this film, but that can go very poorly or very well. Thankfully, it went very well, because within the first few minutes of the introduction of Bad Ape and the conversation he has with Caesar, you care about him. You understand him. It makes him that much more alive. And that's why when he acts the way he does and speaks the way he does, it's funny to you because everything else is so dark and gloom. But he's not trying to be a forceful comedic relief. He is the way he is, and he is established that way, and that's why he's so humorous, and that's why he's so relatable, and that's why you can sit there and laugh and smile and giggle when his moments are there, and it is as a relief because it is such a heavy film. There are so many moments that will just, you'll be choked up. I cried 4 times. 4 times in this movie. That has not happened to me ever. I could not hold back the tears. It was too much for me to handle. After the movie, I was depressed. I was relieved, but I was depressed because of everything that transpired and how much loss there was. It was so beautiful that there was a comedic relief character that was properly written, properly acted, properly directed. It was such a relief. And that's what it's supposed to be, that the moments that he does make you laugh, you have a breath of fresh air. Not because the entire movie you're just sitting there depressed, but because of how well the drama makes you feel. And it's just a remarkable blend in that aspect. I want to talk about Woody Harrelson. There's quite a few scenes that him and Andy Serkis share, but his character, the Colonel, is by all means this kind of Hitler character, because there is a lot of Holocaust type shots and Holocaust type takes and scenes in this film, especially in the second half of this movie. There's a lot of Holocaust imagery that Matt Reeves wants to do. There's a death camp that these apes are being held at, and Woody Harrelson's Colonel is the leader of this kind of cult following of a militia, you know. And it's amazing the way he acts his character, because he's very calm. He's not emotional. He is very, very, very calm, and he's very to the point, I guess the right word is. And it's amazing the scenes that him and Andy Serkis share, because there's an exposition scene, and it's the only exposition scene in this entire movie, by the way, that the Colonel and Caesar talk. Within that scene, there is so much pain in Caesar's eyes because of what the Colonel is telling him and telling about his past. Caesar is disgusted by him. That scene really showed you the two differences, because Caesar is struggling with his own demons in this movie. By all means necessary, he is struggling with his own demons. Koba still haunts him, and he fears he is becoming Koba, because this movie is a revenge story because of all the loss that the Colonel has given to Caesar and the apes. It is a revenge story. He starts seeing that he is not so different from Koba. Then he sees the monster in front of him that is the Colonel. So he sees he is different from him, but he is becoming bloodthirsty. So there's a very excellent mix-in when it comes to those two characters, and they feed off each other on camera. I cannot believe that these two people actually shared a screen in this type of movie, and they just acted the shit out of it. You know, amazing, 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 amazing. Outside of Caesar, I think my favorite character has to be Maurice. I loved everyone. Don't get me wrong, I loved Bad Ape. I adored. I think he was a brother, almost a true brother figure to Caesar. I'm talking about Rocket. But to me, Maurice, just like in the second in Dawn, he does steal your heart. He's so calm. He's so collected. He is so smart in every way. He is an orangutan, so of course you would think that, right? But he is remarkably smart. He's very compassionate to everything. Not just apes, but to humankind as well. So I adore this movie. I really, really do. The action at the end, the big climactic action set piece, it's amazing. The shit that goes down is just mind-blowing, you know? And the way this movie ends, if there's not an other ape movie ever in my entire life, I am okay with that. But it leaves the door open for so many possibilities because of Matt Reeves teasing the characters that you know from the original Planet of the Apes into this new world he's created. Teasing people like Cornelius, Caesar's youngest son. Teasing characters like Nova, obviously, and her upcoming and upbringing to this world and what part she will play with the apes. It's a very, very good film. And that's an oversimplification. It is a masterpiece. I can rave about this film on and on and on because everything that happens in this movie makes sense. Everything that happens, you're just like, okay, it goes to a beat. I told you, there's one exposition scene. Everything else in this movie, I can't think of one thing I would delete. I can't think of one thing that's not supposed to be in here. I can't think of one thing that just doesn't fit, that's out of place. There's nothing. Matt Reeves did a remarkable job. He created everything I ever wanted from a conclusion of an Apes trilogy. God, I love this trilogy. Oh my god, I cannot wait to own War for the Planet of the Apes on Blu-ray. I will rate this movie an 11 out of 10. It is the best film so far this year, and probably will be the best picture of this year, because there might be movies that come close, but none of them will top War for the Planet of the Apes. If you enjoyed this movie, comment in the comment section below. Let your boy know, let's have a conversation about it. If you enjoyed my review, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Really do appreciate that as well. Hope you have a wonderful day, and peace out, guys.
I've been so alone ever since I left the tribe. That's just how it goes, 'cause I like the